Travel show.
This is Seclo Sounds, and you can listen to us by clicking Listen Live on our homepage at seclosounds.org for a choice of players. Via TuneIn Radio at www.tunein.com, search for Seclo Sounds and listen online or download the TuneIn app. You can download the Seclo Sounds iPhone app from the iTunes App Store, and you can listen to us on demand at our replay page.
You can contact me at john.guinn@seclosounds.org. Still to come is that tip I've been talking about how to get an upgrade. You're going to be so disappointed when you finally hear it. I mean, I'm bigging it up by saying you shouldn't do it. It's very risky. Well, it is very risky and you shouldn't do it. But I still think you might be a little bit disappointed when I finally share it with you. But never mind. Keep listening. You'll find out what it is. My guest this week is Jeremy Snelling from Mercator Travel. We're talking about the Far East. Basic introduction to some of the countries and what you can see and do when you get there. Jeremy is from Mercator Travel, who offer tailor-made trips to the Far East as well as other destinations. We've been talking about Laos, and now we're moving on to Burma, which is now known by another name, but I always get it wrong, so I'm just going to insist by calling it Burma. And if you listen carefully, Jeremy will give you the new name for it. But we're going to find out all there is to know about Burma. Moving on to a different country, Burma's recently become easier to visit, but it hasn't had much of a good press. Is safety an issue if you go there?
I would say yes. It's not a huge issue. It's safe if you abide by the rules. You know, this is a totalitarian regime, and you know you don't want to be bending the rules in any way. You know, if you got in trouble with the law there, you would find that they could put you inside and throw the key away, and you know you would have hassle. But generally, again, it's the same things that I was saying by Laos. You know, don't expect to put a camera down and go to the loo and then come back and find it again. You know, apply good common sense. This is a third world developing country, and to some extent, you know, those people are poor and they will see your goods as fair game. But if you look after them, there's very little, because it's a strictly run country, the people are actually very law-abiding, and the issue was political and social unrest, which was internally based rather than focused at tourists, but largely because of what were broadly free elections in 2012, release of political prisoners, and an opening up and an embracing of tourism. Generally, that political unrest is a lot better than it was, and doesn't really impact the visitor. But I would say, you know, if you are a curious visitor and there's a demonstration, don't take yourself on the end of it. Keep away. You know, move. If the demonstration is right, go left. But it shouldn't really impact you.
Is it any more complicated to get to than Laos?
No, not at all. There's many single connection flights for a bit cheaper actually than getting to Laos. It probably ranges from $450 to $650. The most common entry point would be via Bangkok. You could go via BA and hook up with a small local airline. You can buy combination one-way tickets that you don't have to buy two tickets. It's all ticketed through Bangkok. But other hub airports like Malaysia and Air Malaysia offer a cheap. You can go via the Gulf again, one stop via Qatar or Dubai. Beijing is another one that enters that area. So generally, I would say it's a very easy place to get to. And again, you're looking at a kind of round trip, overnight there, overnight back, kind of 15, 16 hours, with including your connection. Border crossings, if you're going by road, are not good. Bangladesh, India and China, Bangladesh is closed. India and China are very, very limited and restricted. When you cross the border, it's a very limited infrastructure in the border areas. That's where there's more unrest. And really the only border crossing by land that's doable is via Thailand. Again, because of the limited infrastructure, you know, it may take you time, the roads could be closed, it's going to be a bureaucratic process. So my advice is, even if you're in the region, if you were backpacking for an extended period and you wanted to travel to Burma from somewhere like Thailand, you would be best to fly in. It's a much easier process.
I'll fly in then because I don't like complications. I'm too lazy for that. Does its climate match Laos, or is it different?
Yeah, it's a very similar. You know, geographically, you're broadly in the same region. It's tropical. It echoes those three seasons of the monsoon wet season and the two dry seasons, a cool and a hot dry season.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say that it's probably slightly more extreme than Laos. I.e., in the cool dry season, it's cooler. You might see 20 to 25 rather than 25 to 30. In the hot end, you know, you could see up to 43, 44 instead of 40. And you would see in the rainy season perhaps a little bit more rain. So it echoes the times of years. November to February is the temperate time, best time to go. March to May, the hot, sticky time, and then the wet season, kind of May through to October. But just think of the rain, the heat, and the cold being at the wider end of each spectrum.
Okay. What about the accommodation there? Is there much of it? Is there any 5-star luxury hotels that keep my wife happy?
Increasingly in Myanmar, there's a good mix of hotels. Mm-hmm. You would see a growing number of 3 and 4-star tourist hotels, sort of what you might call mid-range. For a long time, it was either kind of two ends of the spectrum, you know, very much bottom end and serving the backpacker community and not really serving the mainstream tourism market, or the very high end. Mm-hmm. There are some 5-star hotels, you know, full of colonial splendor. There's the iconic Strand Hotel in Rangoon itself. They do get booked up though, and interestingly, some of the bigger sort of luxury chains, if you took Belmont Group, who own the Venice Orient Express train and a number of luxury hotels around the world, they've opened a hotel called the Governor's Residence, which is a beautifully preserved and restored building and on the height of luxury and a very good hotel that matches anywhere else in the world. So I would say absolutely, you know, the issue is for Myanmar is that demand is outstripping supply. So you're seeing quite a lot of building work going on there as they've opened up.
Do you think it's going to lose any of its magic if there's too much building?
Yeah, I mean, if you spoke to people who went to Goa 40 years ago, or you spoke to people who went to, you know, Corfu in the 1960s, they would say, you know, these places bear no relation to the modern day Goa and Corfu. So, you know, I think there's inevitably, you know, modern tourism is going to have an impact, and it might lose some of its old world charm and some of the reasons why people who went there for the remote experience and, you know, discovering the lesser visited. But, you know, you can't stand in the way of progress, and it's a bit tough to say, well, you've got to stay as a third world theme park just to keep us interested as tourists. So I think if they get their planning right and don't have unfettered I suppose development, and hopefully, you know, fingers crossed, it will be a great place for many years to come.
So if it's on your bucket list, move it up higher up quickly if you want to.
Yeah, I would say, same thing. You know, people are saying, you know, go to Cuba before the Americans get there. Well, you know, I would say go to Myanmar before, you know, it becomes the most conventional place of all to get to.
So what's the reason for visiting the country?
Yeah, I mean, it's in some respects, it's like going back in time 200 or 300 years. So it's it offers time travel in much that you're going back to a simpler time. But there's some absolutely stunning sights to see. There's the Temple of the Golden Rock, which is a huge rock on the side of a cliff, which is a temple which is covered in gold leaf. There's Rangoon's famous Shwedagon stupa and pagoda. There's a tremendous place sprouting out of the jungle called Bagan or Pagan, depending on how you prefer to pronounce it, which is these ancient temples across a vast acreage, which are ruins but dramatically set in the jungle. There's a beautiful scenic inlay lake, which has got stilted villages and floating gardens. Very interesting locals who row by rowing with the oar wrapped around their leg, the leg rowers, and indigenous people. And then you've got tremendous beaches, relatively unspoiled at an affordable price. So you can have this great touring holiday looking at history, culture, indigenous people, and natural beauty. You can there's some amazing Buddhist statues and temples in Himalaya caves. There's a British old colonial hill station at Kalor. You have some marvellous food, and then you can end up with your nice flop and drop 4 or 5 days on the beach at the end to chill out before you have to come back and start earning the money again to pay for the next year's trip.
You can contact us or just keep up to date with travel news at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show.
This is Seclo Sounds, your community radio station. If you'd like to volunteer some of your time and skills with Seclo Sounds, send an email to volunteers@seclosounds.org and let us know how you would like to be involved. MK Flyers Online, the fast and simple way to find any kind of business or service locally. Find us at mkflyersonline.co.uk or download the MK Flyers mobile app from your app store. MK Flyers Online proudly supports Seclo Sounds, community radio for Milton Keynes.
To listen to the show again or to find out the other shows we have on the station, please visit www.seclosounds.org. There'll be more from Jeremy and why you should visit the Far East in a moment. And of course, at the end of the show, there's travel news, and there's 2 of the stories I've mentioned already. It was a country that's making it a bit more difficult for you to get there, and another one where it's advisable, according to some experts, that you should only travel taking cash. You better find out what both of these countries are later in the show. So this tip about getting an upgrade, which is very risky, and I advise you not to do it. I've got it in my book, which is The Travel Researcher's Guide, which I've been reading from the last 2 weeks about how to book flights. Another plug, it's a book that's all about using the internet to book your own travel without using a travel agent, or what you should ask your travel agents for when you're looking for them to book a trip for you. This trip I came across when I was researching for the book, and as I mentioned, it's very risky and you shouldn't do it. But anyway, here it is. It was an article written by Stuart White in the Business Destinations magazine, and it's just something you should do. You should do at the gate. Now, from the article, Stuart said that he was promised an upgrade, and every time he went to various stages of the getting onto the flight, they kept pushing his upgrade further and further back, so the check-in didn't want to know, and such and such. So it kept on going on. So he got to the gate just before it closed, and he was really fed up with the upgrade situation, and he was told now he had to wait to get on the plane. So you go to the gate, you tell the people at the gate that you've been promised an upgrade. If the staff at the gate doesn't give you the upgrade, just tell them you're not flying. This will cause them a problem. It can cause delays because the flight can't take off with your luggage. Your luggage has to be taken off. So they have to find your luggage to remove it from the plane. And this might mean that the plane misses its slot, and this will cost the airline both in time and money. And the gate staff know that they won't be the most populous people in the company if they were to do that. So if you're confident that your luggage is somewhere in the plane and it's not going to be the first thing they take off, and you're confident they're not going to take off with your luggage, though I have heard 1 or 2 airlines that do, you could try it at the gate. Okay, I'm not flying. Give me my case back. I'm going to fly with somebody else. It's a big bluff. As I said, I recommend you don't try it, because even if you get away with it, the chances of you ever flying with that airline ever again are pretty remote. And if your bluff is called, you might not be able to get home, because that could be the only flight to where you want to go, and you might not be able to get on the other plane. So that's it. That is the big bluff I recommend you don't do. Big tip on how to get an upgrade. Wait until you get to the gate. Tell the gate staff at the very last minute that you're not flying unless you get an upgrade. And if you do try it, do let me know how you get on. Facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. But I'm not recommending that you do. If you've got a better tip on how to get an upgrade, please do share it. Facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show.
Step into the spotlight with me, Lucy, every Wednesday between 6 and 7 p.m. on Seclo Sounds. I'll have new music, the latest entertainment news, and interviews with local bands. If you're in a band, or if you have music that you think I should be playing, I'd love to hear from you. Email me, lucy@seclosounds.org, and join me every Wednesday from 6 till 7 for Spotlight on Seclo Sounds.
You're listening to the John Guinn Travel Show on seclosounds.org.